The Oxford Road Mancunian Way junction, I've been walking up that street for about the last 10 years, 12 years possibly, and I've seen a lot of change. And for a long time in those 10 years, it stood empty and there was huge voids underneath this massive concrete structure, which was essentially the highway, the ring road above it, that was being unused. And it was a perfect space for opportunities for like pop-up structures, pop-up architecture, pop-up theatres, pop-up public spaces and things like that. But over time, due to the economic climate but also the political climate, there was a sudden surge of homelessness, and they resided and set up their own community, which was really fascinating to see because it was very, very sophisticated. So they started off small, but then they started developing drainage, cooking facilities, long-term shelter and structure. So essentially it became a long-term residential camp for homeless and vulnerable people. And that was amazing to see it emerge because it grew from 1 to 2 to 3, and then it got bigger very quickly because it was a safe space. It was a safe space for them, and it was a safe space for people who don't feel inclined to live in a box or a house. They like to be free, so they like to live outside. But unfortunately, with I think the university and the council's input, their shelter community was threatened many times to be dismantled and destroyed and removed from them. And they fought with the local community. They signed petitions to stay there as long as possible. And ultimately, I think they did extend their time, which was a very good use of that space because they weren't posing any risk or hazards to anybody in the area walking past. But unfortunately, the council removed them. And that was quite a sad day because they could have invested in that facility, or at least moved them to a facility and rehoused them. I don't believe that they did. And if they did, they would have got split up. But now, how the council have invested into that area to create these pop-up cafes, shops, eatery places is a very clever idea. It uses prefabricated structures. It's very colourful and bright. It's a temporary structure, so it can be removed at any time. But it brings life back to that space, which is exactly what it needs. And it does create safe, healthy spaces for everybody to enjoy. How long it'll last, we don't know, but it's a good example of what you can do with a forgotten space in Manchester. Whether it's temporary or long term, it shows that with the right people, the right backing and funding, and the right design team, you can sustainably reuse structures and containers, rehouse them, redesign it for a completely different use. And that's exactly what's happened in Manchester.